Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Sorry, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Hare, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjabi Adi Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjabi Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjabi Adi Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Bhalabha Girivara Radhi Gopi Jana Bhalabha Girivara Radhi Gopi Jana Bhalabha Girivara Radhi Jasodanandana Brajachanaranjana Jasodanandana Brajachanaranjana Yamuna Tiravana Chadi Yamuna Tiravana Chadi Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjabi Hadi Madhava Kunjabi Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjabi Hadi Madhava Kunjabi Hadi Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Jasodanandana Brajachanaranjana Jasodunandana Brajachanaranjana Yamuna Tiravana Jadi Yamuna Tiravana Jadi Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjabi Adi Madhava Kunjabi Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjabi Adi Madhava Kunjabi Adi Jayo Vishnupad Paramahamsa Harividakacharya Astatara Satasi Srimad His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Ananta Koti Vaishnavrinda Ki Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Gaura Premanandi. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayat. So we're going to read several verses, Canto 9, Chapter 10, verses 4 through, I think it's 8. Translation, text number 4. To keep the promise of his father intact, Lord Ramachandra immediately gave up the position of king and, accompanied by his wife, Mother Sita, wandered from one forest to another on his lotus feet, which were so delicate that they were unable to bear even the touch of Sita's palms. The Lord was also accompanied by Hanuman, the king of the monkeys, or by another monkey, Sugriva, and by his own younger brother, Lord Lakshmana, both of whom gave him relief from the fatigue of wandering in the forest. Having cut off the nose and the ears of Shurpanakha, thus disfiguring her, the Lord was separated from Mother Sita. He therefore became angry, moving his eyebrows, and thus frightening the ocean, who then allowed the Lord to construct a bridge to cross the ocean. Subsequently, the Lord entered the kingdom of Ravana to kill him like a fire devouring a forest. May that Supreme Lord, Ramachandra, give us all protection. Text 5. In the arena of the sacrifice performed by Vishvamitra, Lord Ramachandra, the king of Ayodhya, killed many demons, Rakshasas, and uncivilized men who wandered at night in the mode of darkness. May Lord Ramachandra, who killed these demons in the presence of Lakshmana, be kind enough to give us protection. Text 6 and 7. O King, the pastimes of Lord Ramachandra were wonderful, like those of a baby elephant. In the assembly where Mother Sita was to choose her husband, in the midst of the heroes of this world, he broke the bow belonging to Lord Shiva. This bow was so heavy that it was carried by 300 men. Yesterday we said 30. 300, that's what we said. 300 men. 300 men. Confirmed. But Lord Ramachandra bent and strung it and broke it in the middle, just as a baby elephant breaks a stick of sugar cane. Thus, the Lord achieved the hand of Mother Sita, who was equally as endowed with transcendental qualities of form, beauty, behavior, age, and nature. Indeed, she was the goddess of fortune, who constantly rests on the chest of the Lord while returning from Sita's home after gaining her at the assembly of competitors. Lord Ramachandra met Parashuram. Although Parashuram was very proud, having rid the earth of the royal order 21 times, he was defeated by the Lord, who appeared to be a Kshatriya of the royal order. And I think this is our final verse, yes? Number 8? We're going to 10 or 8? Till 11, okay. Text 8. Carrying out the order of his father, who was bound by a promise to his wife, Lord Ramachandra left behind his kingdom, opulence, friends, well-wishers, residents, and everything else, just as a liberated soul gives up his life, and went to the forest with Sita. Purport. Maharaj Dasharath had 3 wives. One of them, Kaikeyi, served him very pleasingly, and he therefore wanted to give her a benediction. Kaikeyi, however, said that she would ask for the benediction when it was necessary. At the time of the coronation of Prince Ramachandra, Kaikeyi requested her husband to enthrone her son Bharata and send Ramchandra to the forest. Maharaj Dasharath, being bound by his promise, ordered Ramachandra to go to the forest according to the dictation of his beloved. And the Lord, as an obedient son, accepted the order immediately. He left everything without hesitation, just as a liberated soul or a great yogi gives up his life without material attraction. Text 9. While wandering in the forest, where he accepted a life of hardship, carrying his invincible bow and arrows in his hand, Lord Ramachandra deformed Ravana's sister, who was polluted with lusty desires, by cutting off her nose and ears. He also killed 14,000 Rakshasa friends, headed by Karatrishira and Dushana. Text 10. O King Parikshit, when Ravana, who had 10 heads on his shoulders, heard about the beautiful and attractive features of Sita, his mind was agitated by lusty desires, and he went to kidnap her. To distract Lord Ramachandra from his ashrama, Ravana sent Maricha in the form of a golden deer. And when Lord Ramachandra saw that wonderful deer, he left his residence and followed it and finally killed it with a sharp arrow, just as Lord Shiva killed Daksha. Text 11. When Ramachandra entered the forest, and Lakshmana was also absent, the worst of the Rakshasas, Ravana, kidnapped Sita Devi, the daughter of the king of Videha, just as a tiger seizes unprotected sheep when the shepherd is absent. Then Lord Ramachandra wandered in the forest with his brother Lakshmana, as if very much distressed due to separation from his wife. Thus he showed by his personal example the condition of a person attached to women. Kripanavat, as if a very distressed person. The Bhaktivedanta purport reads, in this verse, the word Sri Sanginam Gatim Eti indicate that the condition of a person attached to women was shown by the Lord himself. According to moral instruction, Grihe Narim Vivarjayet. When one goes on a tour, one should not bring his wife. Formerly, men used to travel without conveyances, but still, as far as possible, when one leaves home, one should not take his wife with him, especially if one is in such a condition as Lord Ramachandra when banished by the order of his father. Whether in the forest or at home, if one is attached to women, this attachment is always troublesome, as shown by the Supreme Personality of Godhead by his personal example, paragraph. Of course, this is the material side of Sri Sangi, but the situation of Lord Ramachandra is spiritual, for he does not belong to the material world. Narayana Paravyaktat. Narayana is beyond the material creation. Because he is the creator of the material world, he is not subject to the conditions of the material world. The separation of Lord Ramachandra from Sita is spiritually understood as Vipralambha, which is an activity of the Hladani potency of the Supreme Personality of Godhead belonging to the Shringara Rasa, the mellow of conjugal love in the spiritual world. In the spiritual world, the Supreme Personality of Godhead has all the dealings of love, displaying the symptoms called Sattvika, Sanchari, Vilapa, Murcha, and Unmada. Thus, when Lord Ramachandra was separated from Sita, all these spiritual symptoms were manifested. The Lord is neither impersonal nor impotent. Rather, he is Satchitananda Vigraha, the eternal form of knowledge and bliss. Thus, he has all the symptoms of spiritual bliss. Feeling separation from one's beloved is also an item of spiritual bliss. As explained by Srila Swarup Damodar Goswami, Radha Krishna Pranaya Vikriti Ladini Shakti, the dealings of love between Radha and Krishna are displayed as the pleasure potency of the Lord. The Lord is the original source of all pleasure, the reservoir of all pleasure. Lord Ramachandra, therefore, manifested the truth, both spiritually and materially. Materially, those who are attached to women suffer, but spiritually, when there are feelings of separation between the Lord and his pleasure potency, the spiritual bliss of the Lord increases. This is further explained in Bhagavad Gita 9:11. This is a long purport, isn't it? Avajananti ma mudha manushim tanam ashritam param bhavam jananto mama bhuta maheshwaram. One who does not know the spiritual potency of the Supreme Personality of Godhead thinks of the Lord as an ordinary human being, but the Lord's mind, intelligence, and senses can never be affected by material conditions. This fact is further explained in the Skanda Purana, as quoted by Madhvacharya, the long Sanskrit. It is actually impossible for Ravana to take away Sita. The form of Sita taken by Ravana was an illusory representation of Mother Sita, Maya Sita. When Sita was tested in the fire, this Maya Sita was burnt, and the real Sita came out of the fire. A further understanding to be derived from this example is that a woman, however powerful she may be in the material world, must be given protection, for as soon as she is unprotected, she will be exploited by Rakshasas, like Ravana. Hear the words, Vaideha Raja Duhitari, indicate that before Mother Sita was married to Lord Ramachandra, she was protected by her father, Vaideha Raja. When she was married, she was protected by her husband. Therefore, the conclusion is that a woman should always be protected. According to the Vedic rule, there is no scope for a woman's being independent. Asamakshama, asamaksham. For a woman cannot protect herself independently. Unpopular in modern society. But Prabhupada was not a crowd pleaser. He was a Krishna pleaser. It's a nice chapter. We just got a panorama picture of a number of pastimes being narrated by Shukadeva Goswami to Maharaj Parikshit, who was asking, please narrate, so he's narrating. Now, there's many verses without purports. He could have written, Ramayana Part 2 or something in purports, but he didn't. Prabhupada chose to not do that. Somebody may choose to do that, and that's just fine. One of the features of you mentioned this yesterday evening, so I'll repeat it. One of the features of Ramayana is it teaches codes of conduct. And one of the features of Ramayana is it teaches rasa. It's filled with lessons of rasa. And this is a nice example of both. The moral lesson and the spiritual lesson. Now, many people take one or the other. And transcendentalists may emphasize one or emphasize the other, but they're both to be understood, at least for our acharyas to give an explanation of both. It seems a little contradictory that on the one hand and on the other hand, on the one hand, a woman is to be protected and the father or the husband is to protect. And feeling distressed because that protection is now violated could be understood. That's the consequence of not over-attachment. It's the failure to execute a duty, the protection duty, or not just duty, the function of the protector is to protect. But it's not just he was upset because because of not performance of duty, there was a bad consequence. It was the exhibition of madness, apparent madness, was the attachment factor, the worldly appearance of the attachment factor. And it's an important lesson. How can one, on the one hand, be a protector, and the other hand, not be attached? it would make sense that what you're protecting is something that you value. I wasn't born and brought up in India, but I've noticed something about people that are of Indian origin, and that's locking the door. It's just a thing. It's just a cultural thing. It's an Indian thing. People that are Indian know it's, or from India, you lock the door. And it's an Indian thing. You lock the door. Security. Whether there's any theft or break in or that kind of thing, just you lock the door. You lock the door. Protection, similarly, it's not just an Indian thing. It's a Vedic culture thing. There are other persons who Prabhupada would tell the story. That people purposely, Indian families, purposely leave their door open. And so people don't even have to knock. They just come on in. Everyone's welcome. Anyway, so rather than dwell on that particular feature, it's just a principle that protection is a function. That's that which you consider valuable, you give protection. Like, for example, Prabhupada gives this example. Supposing you have some wealth, you don't put it at your doorstep. You put it somewhere inside, concealed. Some heirlooms, ancestral heirlooms. It's a value, and so it's put in a safe place, out of sight. So the at least one of the features that's in this lengthy purport is the importance of protection. And the consequence of being overly protective. So what's overly protective? Overly attached. And in the mood, it's not just protection, it's being the enjoyer of. Just like when somebody has something valuable and it's lost or stolen, and then there's some feeling. And overly attached or overly possessive of something that's lost or stolen, then persons become mad. So Ramachandra behaved like a madman, and Lakshman, being completely obedient to Lord Ramachandra, tried to pacify him in so many things, but he searched to assist Ramachandra, to help him let that feeling be mitigated. So the two brothers searching. The consequence of undue attachment. Protection, yes, but not to the state where one goes mad. Circumstances, in this case, was a divine arrangement, but circumstances may happen where one's, in this case, husband and wife, with the wife meets with some accident, and the protector may go mad. So circumstances shouldn't drive one mad. And and attachment should not be to the extent that if some misfortune comes, one goes mad. Undue attachment. Protection, yes. Undue attachment, no. So where's the line between the two? For a transcendentalist, the line is who's at the center, who's enjoyment. And if it's bhakti, then Krishna's enjoyment. And then when it's bhakti, then the dissatisfaction that one feels in some circumstance rests on Krishna's pleasure or the absence of Krishna's pleasure. And then it's a transcendental emotion as opposed to the other kind. And take that transcendental emotion and amplify it, and it becomes vipralambha, attachment that results in feelings of intense separation, which, according to the science of rasa, intensifies the love, but not the attachment. It just intensifies the love. So it's subtle. It's fine. It's not the demarcation is not so sharp, other than who's at the center, who's happiness. So there, take anything that has to do with spiritual life, and there's the appearance. There may be the appearance of sense gratification, and there may be the deeper sense for the pleasure of Krishna. And take any nice example. Here's a nice example. Dressing the deity. One can get so absorbed in dressing the deity that it's poor deity. It's taking forever and ever, and therefore the dressing of the deity should be done nicely and at the same time swiftly. So the deity doesn't have to be inconvenienced standing there while you're fiddling. Because I was just in Houston, one of the features of the Houston temple deity worship is amazing decoration of the deity. The paintings on the hands and face and feet, etc. The garlands, they have a massive flower budget. I don't know how big it is. I'm sure it's really big. And always, and then the garments and this and the ornaments, and they got a whole team. And because the curtain has to open at a certain time, the offering after the dressing and so forth. So it's a whole team of devotees. And they're standing in line to get a chance to serve the deity. In part because the deity worship focus is so great, but for the pleasure of the deity. And then the festival time, planning months ahead for this festival, that festival. So that's of value. It can be considered a material attachment, but it's because the object, the person being pleased, is the personality Godhead, then it's all spiritual. The tendency to dress oneself or another very nicely, fix it to the deity. Tendency fixed to, and the personal reciprocation of love. And that's, one thing, and you can take anything that's in relation to our practices of spiritual life. In this example, that example, one can easily give examples, but the principle applies to all examples. And who's at the center? Who is pleasure? So there's sense gratification, and that sense gratification can be subtle. When an observer may not be able to tell if someone is on the platform of Shuddha Bhakti or sense gratification with some activity or another activity. Whatever that, music or dance or something or something or something. Then back to the rasa is layered on top. Rasa trumps or supersedes, dictates an understanding of all mysteries. So how can Lord Ramachandra be a worldly attached person? Well, he's teaching a lesson. He's teaching a lesson. Don't become worldly attached. Or he's teaching that, and more importantly, he's demonstrating or experiencing a vipralamba bhav. And then, the Sanskrit terms that go with Rupa Goswami's writings, this type, that type, the other type, the other type, the other type, and refinements of understanding of transcendental emotion due to attachment to the object. So attachment to the object is good when the attachment is the happiness of the object, not my happiness. It's subtle. And it's like day and night at the same time. To go further in spiritual life from where we are to where we want to go, hearing the topics of the personality of Godhead, he or in relation to him. Here it's Shukadev speaking about him. In some cases, it's the personality of Godhead speaking about himself, whatever the circumstance. There's potencies of purification in those sound vibrations. And hearing again and hearing again and hearing very attentively, then at least purification and the potential of subtle transcendental emotion can awaken, especially under the guidance of qualified acharyas. They can point out things that from their experience and share their experience in their commentaries and so forth that are very delightful. That's the benefit of sadhu sangha and the teachings of sadhus or the messages of sadhus. Just like the Bhaktivedanta purports. I mean, with such enormous, with all of what Prabhupada did, he wasn't just an author. He did so many things, and so much writing. Powerful. Inconceivably powerful. Elevated personality. So, but to leave behind literature that generations and generations and generations and generations could take advantage of for purification, etc. He knew exactly what he was doing and why, along with everything else that he was doing. So it's hard to not glorify our founder Acharya and his gift. And then, Vyasadeva similarly, are the great personalities. They have a capacity that's otherworldly. They have compassion that's otherworldly, and they give it freely. Two other things. This is Srimad Bhagavatam. Within Srimad Bhagavatam, it's not a full narration of Ramayana, but it's capsulizing essences of Ramayana right within Srimad Bhagavatam. Similarly, in portions of Mahabharata, there's little summaries of pastimes from Ramayana. And just like this nice reference, I didn't read the Sanskrit because it's quite long, but Madhvacharya quoting Skanda Purana, describing the separation of Sita and Ram. It's not possible. Can the sunshine be separated from the sun? No such thing. No such thing. And if it's no such thing, then what is it? It's a pastime. Oh, very clever. That's a pastime, right? Just put it in a little closet over there, call it a pastime closet, and it's just a pastime. Because Sita can't be separated from Ram. Now, there are persons who like Valmiki Ramayana so much, if it's not in Valmiki Ramayana, like Sita, false Sita being taken, it's relegated to, it's not even a closet. It's, it's off the table altogether. Not, it's nice, but it's not Valmiki Ramayana. But Madhvacharya, great Acharya, is referring to the Skanda Purana. And we know there's Kurma Purana. There's other Puranas where this feature that's not in Valmiki Ramayana is narrated. The false Sita. And the false Sita is burned. And the true Sita is then emerges from the fire. Interesting, huh? False Sita. False Sita. What's a false Sita? Well, it's not exactly that Sita becoming covered by Maya becomes a false Sita. It's a false Sita. And because there's only something material can be burned. At least that's the way that the narration is presented. Here is Prabhupada's purport. So the false Sita was burned. So, the material body, material form, false Sita. So there are different ways of looking at the same thing. And it's much simpler just to look at through one lens. But a topic like Ramayana, there's many, many. And then how do you select from the many, many? Which ones are, quote, authorized? Then you can accept it's just not in Valmiki Ramayana, but it's part of what happened. Or it's a realization of the compiler of that Ramayana because of their deep Ram Bhakti. Things are revealed to them, and so they're real because it's revelation. Now, how do you distinguish? Not easy. There are standard texts like Ramcharitamanas. That's a nice example. Some devotees, some very senior ISKCON gurus, without naming names, grew up with Ramcharitamanas. And that's their Valmiki Ramayana. And, don't tell them otherwise. Don't just smile and shake their head. But there are things that just are dissonant for one way. So we require very qualified persons, more qualified than us, the actual acharyas, to indicate this is acceptable and that's not acceptable version of Ramayana. And there's too many versions. Because they're more commentary than the actual history. Anyway, how do you discern? So we're not so qualified. Valmiki Ramayana, please. That's simple. And then, it can expand a bit, as we've done during this visit. Some references. In this case, this is the Bhaktivedanta purport, who in Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada is an authority that we accept. And he's making this reference from Madhvacharya's writing in Skanda Purana that says what it says. So it's a perspective, or another conventional way is there are different days of Brahma, and during different days of Brahma, there's different events in Ram Lila. So it's not every day of Brahma. It's always the same because there are different days of Brahma, and some narrations differ from one from another. That's at least an option to look at if there's something that appears to be contradictory. And we accept Prabhupada, we accept Madhvacharya. But Madhvacharya says some interesting things because of his mood of bhakti. But Shuddha Bhakti, no question about, is there mixed or Shuddha? There's no question. Shuddha. And he has a perspective, or realizations. And he says some interesting things. He writes interesting things. So hearing from the proper authority is a principle to understand that which can be misunderstood or can be misrepresented. So we have to be careful. Let's see if there's some discussion. Yes.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Maharaj, on the same lines which you are talking at the last. On the same lines which we are talking at the last, where different acharyas explain the different aspects of Ramayana in a different way. They have a different view.
Yes.
So I have a question in this regard. So in Rameshwaram, we have Lord Shiva's temple, and the understanding is that Lord Rama, when he was victorious and he came back, he worshipped Lord Shiva to get rid of the sin of committing murder of a...
We discussed this a little bit. Go ahead. There are hundreds of views, and that's one of hundreds of views. Go ahead.
Yeah, so what I know is that in Valmiki Ramayana, that episode is not there.
That's right.
So, but the whole world
did
is
it happen or did it not happen? Is that your question?
No, my question is it like, what is our Acharya's view in that?
Oh, there's multiple. There was a document, there was 2 documents that were circulated. Did you receive it? Are you on the WhatsApp list? Check with Satyasar. He'll put you on the WhatsApp list, and then you can get the 2 documents. And there's multiple views. One of the big documents is it never happened. One devotee, that's an ISKCON devotee, who has strong affinity for Sri Vaishnava perspective on Ramayana, compiled a long PDF, 19-page, something like that. It never happened. With references and references and references and references. Madhvacharya said it happened. But he has an explanation of it's not that because of sin, his, Ramchandra's sin of because Ravana was the son of Vishravas, and Vishravas was a Brahmana, and so he's the son of a Brahmana, and so he killed Ravana, so he was cleansing himself of sin. He's the personality of Godhead. And Ravana is not a Brahmana. The Lord appears to kill the demons, and he would kill them. Haribol. So it's not to cleanse himself. So that's Madhvacharya discounts that conception, but accepts there's three other reasons. And then this nice devotee that compiled the long document has a section where Govindaraj addresses one of those reasons, and it says, when it says Mahadev is referring to the Surya, not Surya, Samudra. Madhvacharya. It's not just a fellow, it's Madhvacharya. And Govindaraj is not just a fellow. So there's different views. Now, what are you and I to do when there's different views? That's the question, isn't it? Yeah. Is that the question or not the question?
I mean, when we go to the temple of Lord Shiva, so what should be our mood? That's my question. If that has not happened,
Depends on the authority that you have. If it's, I won't mention the name of the person, but if it was this ISKCON devotee, it didn't happen. He can go and offer his respect to Lord Shiva as you might offer respect to Lord Shiva any place, like Lord Chaitanya offered respect to Lord Shiva. The Vaishnavadam Yata Shambhu. So that's an option. Then there's other options that you can, this is a mystery. That's another option. Certainly there's respect because he's Lord Shiva. And the oneness and difference between the personality of Godhead and his expansion, Lord Shiva. Milk touched by the lips. Milk touched by a souring agent. He's actually the personality of Godhead, but transformed. So, depends on the lens, what your disposition should be, or could be. And it could be multiple. Simultaneous multiple. Not only one from the menu. Oh, but bottom line, respect. Yes.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Maharaj, we see that there are so many different transcriptions of Ramayana.
Yes.
Is that true with Srimad Bhagavatam also? Because we don't see as many, though there are some.
I'm not a scholar, but the little, there's three littles, references from our acharyas, they point to their different versions of Srimad Bhagavatam. And the differences that they point to are very minuscule. They're not major like this thing and that thing. Did Sita enter fire and did Ram worship Shiva? And there's not, those are kind of major. But so there are different, yes, there are different versions, manuscripts, it's called. And the differences are minor.
So my question is like, is there a specific reason for that, or like,
Is there a reason for what?
so
Having different versions, different manuscripts?
no, why we have so many for Ramayana and so little for Bhagavatam?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. It's a nice question. I don't know.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Send me a note. I know a couple people I could ask that question. They may have a very plausible answer. I mean, one is Radhik Raman. He'll probably have a very plausible answer. You know who that is? And there's others that go-to persons that are super scholarly, and they may have an answer. They'll probably get different answers from different people that are authorities.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Thank you for the nice class. On the same lines, I want to correct my understanding. Like when you go deep into some subject,
Deep into what?
when you go deep into any subject like Puranas,
Yeah.
like Ramayana, Mahabharata,
Yeah.
and we see this different opinions or different views of acharyas.
It's okay.
So my understanding, I want to correct me if I'm wrong. Like take those views, but don't get caught up. Either one could be correct or both could be correct because these pastimes occur in different yugas. So, but that shouldn't deviate us from the path of the bhakti, because
Yeah.
sometimes we get really,
Yeah.
I want to make sure that this is correct or
Yes.
that.
Yeah.
So,
The starting point is the source, who is the source? Is the source an acharya source, or is it a scholarly source? Because scholars have differences of opinion, like anything. So, but if it's different acharyas, we may give more. Let's say we may give more weight to Rupa Goswami because we're followers of Rupanugas. But if Rupa Goswami says this, and Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says that, we don't trash Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur or his statement. But one is superior because it's Rupa Goswami. I mean, that's me. He's authority, a fully trusted authority, and similarly, Jiva Goswami's statements are similarly authoritative. So those three, Rupa, Sanatan, and Jiva Goswami, for me, they're authorities that if they say something totally contradictory, they carry equal weight, but somehow Rupa Goswami's statements carry special equal weight. And then aside from those three, then it's okay. Then there's rules. Okay?
can I ask one
Yeah,
more
sure.
follow-up question? So, so how do we understand Vishwanath Chakravarti when he's giving a different answer from that of a Rupa Goswami? How do we like? So
It's his realization. So he's getting an insight that he's not a fiction writer. He's not a crowd pleaser writer. There's dictation he's a Rasika Bhakta, and in his ecstasies of rasa, he's given a realization and he writes it. And it's just fine. And it's authoritative. And it's not something that Rupa Goswami wrote or may say something else. Here's a classic example. Classic. Chapter 1 Bhagavad Gita, where there's a description of the two armies. And I can't remember the word. There's one word that says the armies of the Kauravas were adequate. And there's another same word is read as inadequate. And the two commentators are Vishwanath and Baladev. And Baladev is at the feet of Vishwanath. And he has an opposite read. It came chronologically after him. So he certainly knew what Vishwanath wrote. And he wrote another meaning of the same word. And I'm not a Sanskrit scholar, but those that are have analyzed both are Sanskrit-wise correct. A rendering of that Sanskrit phrase. So is he an upstart or what's going on? He has a realization, and he's writing his realization, in one sense, boldly, because it's a direct contradiction to something the person who he's at the feet of said. But it's not with a I'm smarter than you, or I'm better than you, or I'm, that's not the mood. It's just his realization, and he's writing his realization. And he has realizations. He's a Rasika Bhakta that has realizations, writing on Bhagavad Gita. And that's just Bhagavad Gita, chapter 1.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, there are two questions online. First one, Hare Krishna Maharaj, thank you. In the first sentence on verse 4, it mentions about how the lotus feet of the Lord was so soft, Mother Sita's lotus palm could not bear it. How can we understand that in a proper context?
Topics like this go into for me, they go into the rasa bucket. Meaning, use your logic and reason, and I can't find a logical or reasonable evaluation. But rather, it's, Shukadeva Goswami, in a moment of ecstasy, is describing Sita's feelings about Ram being in the forest and walking in his bare feet. And it's difficult for her. Go ahead.
Okay. Question number 2. Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj. Ramayana is a great literature, but for ISKCON devotees, we mainly focus on Radha and Krishna. There is a fear on diverting from Radha Krishna to Lord Rama devotion. How to honor and worship these incarnations of the Supreme Lord?
Rama Dimurti Shukala Niyamena Tishtan. That's how, Lord Brahma, Govindam. So the focus depends on the person. But there are ISKCON devotees that are Nrsimha Bhaktas. Where's Radha Krishna? Etc. But the Sringadev's history is there in Bhagavatam, and so it's an aspect of, and some are attracted to that aspect of. And it's fantastic. It's not like, well, you're a second-class bhakta. And others with other forms of the Lord. Without going into other examples, the other devotees that have this particular affinity. So somehow or another, or one form or another, one name or another, one feature or another, but it's the personality of Godhead. So those ISKCON devotees that have this affinity for one form or another, They know the Bhagavatam. They just have a particular affinity for this form or another. And different persons are going to have a different way of processing where it fits into the Bhagavatam. They just have, at least minimum, they have a particular affinity. Ladies? Anyone? Yes? Go ahead. You're a lady, but you're...
Hare
Next.
Krishna Maharaj. I was just curious about the point where Madhvacharya mentioned about the Maya Shakti and the form of Sita, like not actually Sita being taken away there. Like if not the true form of Sita was taken there, why would Rama lament over that form? Wouldn't it be like he lamenting over?
That's just touch it with the wand of Leela.
Could there be some material attachment because of that, or like is
No, it's Leela. He's omniscient, and he is orchestrating his spiritual potency is orchestrating his pastimes so that he can experience this transcendental emotion of separation. And he goes mad.
I was just thinking like he getting mad over like spiritual attachment is making sense, but this is different.
That's Vipralamba Bhav.
Yeah.
It's an ecstasy. Bhava is an ecstasy of a love in separation. So it's a pastime to invite him or induce him to a feeling of intensification of his love in separation, due to separation. But then comes, well, wait a minute. Is it possible for the sunshine to be separated from the sun? Is there such a thing? No. So it's a pastime.
Yeah. Thank you, Maharaj.
Okay. Yes.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, thank you for the wonderful class. So Maharaj, you spoke about Ayodhya, like if you worship Lord Ram, you'll go to Ayodhya. So how is what happens there? Is it like what is
Eternal pastimes. Eternal pastimes. A very nice place for you to go to get an answer to your question. It was the PDF that was circulated. When Gopakumar goes to Ayodhya and experiences what he experiences, and Hanuman gives him a guided tour. So that's not the worldly, that's the transcendental. And the authority for us, that's Sanatana Goswami, and then the commentary is Sanatana Goswami. He commentary on his own book. So all of that's there. That gives you, at least a capsule picture of what's it like there. Because Gopakumar goes there and gets a tour.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Okay. How do we know about that which is beyond our experience from Shabda? Transcendental sound vibration. And this is the Acharya topic, we have confidence, 100% confidence that what Sanatana Goswami writes is transcendental reality. It's not fiction. It's not perhaps maybe. It's not speculation. It's not, that's not what it is. So what is it? It's the answer to your question. And he's providing at least some picture of what the upper realm of Ayodhya is through the medium of Gopakumar and his Brihad Bhagavatamrita. So, Guru Sadhu Shastra. That's how we can know things that are beyond our experience. It sounds like we're done. We'll see you this evening for a nice little discussion on Lakshmana. It's going to be very short. Srila Prabhupada ki. Jai.